Reverend Al Sharpton, and we are back. Let's go back to Kevin in Atlanta. Kevin, I believe you said before the break that you didn't see any of the national civil rights community reaching out to talk with Donald Trump. And as I was saying, that the executive committee of the Congressional Black Caucus met with him, gave him a whole binder, a book really, on concerns, issues of the African American community since Mr. Trump had said that we had nothing to lose voting for him. They categorically went through what they had to lose. The president of Historic Black Colleges met with him, and he signed an executive order saying how important they were and then cut the budgets to them. He called me, and I said I would meet with him if we could bring the other heads of national civil rights organizations. I did not want to meet with him alone. I was not going to do a photo op like Kanye West and others. He said, we'll get back to you. Had Omarosa call, even had at our convention, we'll get back to you. So he has not said that he would have a impartial, very honest conversation with leaders of national civil rights organizations. And his meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus and his meeting with HBCUs ended up reaping nothing. So I don't think that that's true, that people have not been willing to talk. He's not been willing to talk unless they are staged photo ops.
Well, I think to that point, Reverend Al, I respectfully disagree. I think that, again, some of the things that Secretary Carson is saying, some of the things that the administration is doing is indicative of not having any input. Now, not having any input from the national civil rights leadership. Now, when you say, the meeting with the HBCUs, to your point, you're even characterizing that as a Photoshop. And that letter or that meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus was prefaced with basically, we know you're the devil, but we'll go ahead and have a conversation with you anyway.
First of all, wait a minute. Your first premise was that national civil rights leaders had not reached out and was willing to meet. You can't disagree with that. I just gave you the facts on that. We have said we would meet, but we all would come in. We're not going to do no one meeting with me. So that's nothing to disagree upon. That's one. Secondly, if the preface of a meeting is that we disagree, but we're going to meet, then he does that. He's met with the Democrats in the Senate. They disagree. So why would the preface of a meeting have to be we agree with you?
Well, I believe, Reverend Al, it's only been a couple of days that we found out that we're going to have 23 million people dropped from the Affordable Care Act. And a lot of those folks are going to be poor black people. And I believe, when you're operating from a deficit, and I guess this is where my frustration is, Reverend Al. As a community, it appears that we're engaging this man as if we're operating from a position of strength, when in actuality we're not.
I think you're confusing apples and oranges. Is your premise that there needs to be a strategy of how you deal with strength, or is your premise that people won't meet? You started by saying they won't meet. So you're talking about something else. Because if you're telling me in order to meet with him, we've got to say we're going to agree with him, then you're not talking about a meeting. You're talking about just going in and deferring to him, saying, yep, we come to see you, you're right.
No. Well, I'm not suggesting that we enter a meeting with him being, correct, if you will.
Okay.
What I'm expressing is that right now, with virtually all three branches of government being ran by conservatives, that at some, and I hate to use this phrase, Reverend Al, and I apologize for using it, but I think just to some degree, we have to be political in terms of playing this game. I think the man's ego and his personality in general gives us a great opportunity to exploit that, to get some of the stuff that we need in our community. And whereas I can appreciate calling the senators and your congressmen. I don't believe that there's a Democratic senator or congressman that's planning on voting for anything for Trump. So I don't.
And there's some Republicans that won't. That's why the strategy is what it is. You just had Republican Congressman Sanford rip this health plan apart. So don't assume that you won't have some Republicans. They're going to need in the Senate 60 votes, and they only have 52. And and you can turn some of that around. That's one. But secondly, again, if you are dealing with a man, I'm going to say it the third time, that says he will not meet, going to your phrase, not mine, with leaders of national civil rights organizations, he will meet with one, then that is not a man. It's not up to national civil rights leaders to say they'll meet with a guy that won't meet with all of us. And I'm not going to meet with him by myself, because I think that he needs to hear from at least those 7 that met periodically with President Obama, because we cover different areas with our organizations. So that's not about a strategy. That's about a man that has not agreed to that kind of meeting. We met with Sessions. We didn't agree, but Jeff Sessions met with all 7 of us together. What is wrong with Mr. Trump doing the same thing if he was open to that kind of dialogue?
Yeah, and again, Reverend Sharpton, I understand exactly where you're coming from. I do. But I believe politically, whatever game that this man wants to play, because again, we're talking about 23 million people being dropped from the rolls. That, at one point, Reverend Al, remember that the current Trump Care Act, if